Good evening. Hey, this is Brian from Exposeco. Here with my co-host Paul. Paul, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you doing, Brian?
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying this the season. It's a Christmas season, and so we got holiday lights everywhere around me. Tonight we got this really interesting topic. Last week we had talked about can we trust salespeople, but tonight we're going to dive into some of the things that people are going to hear when a salesman walks through their door. So, what are the common sales tactics? Paul, can you help us out here?
Definitely. There's a huge long list of tactics that salespeople use, right? There's formal trainings. There's just the genuine guys that have great personalities that end up being able to transform that into a sales pitch or build a relationship and be a decent salesperson just based off of personality. But I think tonight what we'll do is kind of dive in a little bit in the personality side, but also the skilled trained side as well. And common sales tactics are first and foremost is you've got to like the person in your house. So you got to have a personality to break down barriers. You've got to be able to make people feel comfortable with you in their home. So with that, a common thing for a salesperson to do is to find some common interest in with the person. So they're going to try and they're going to look around your house and see kind of what your interests are based on what they can see. I mean, if you have family with kids, they're going to talk about their kids. They're going to ask them the ages. They're going to have, oh yeah, Johnny, I had him at talking about your life and getting him into different, whether he was in soccer or whatnot. They're really doing whatever they can to create a humanization. They want to humanize themselves because when a salesperson comes to your house, you are already on the defense. You're nervous. You don't know what to think. So a good sales guy's tactics is to break down that barrier, make you feel comfortable. And the way to do that is generally build a relationship. And how you build a relationship is you're able to spark a conversation, keep the conversation going. But what people don't realize is an extremely good salesperson, they will work that conversation in a direction that you have no clue that it's going. They will manipulate that conversation to be able to actually create an outcome at the end of the day for you to have no reason to say no to them when it comes to their project that they're going to propose to you. And I've gone through the training, so I know exactly how they do it. It's an extremely effective tactic to be able to work through the different ways to break down those barriers. Common term in sales is objections. So when somebody throws an objection, they're saying no. It's a negative thing. You don't want objections. You want people to be agreeing upon what you're trying to sell them. A good salesman, from when they get started talking to you in the home, they'll be manipulating that conversation and they'll be getting rid of objections up front. So they will find the things that you're going to normally be able to object to at the end of the meeting, and they're going to eliminate those objections up front. So that way they don't have to deal with them at the end. It's a lot easier to get rid of them up front. Let me give you an example. If somebody came to your house, and I'm the sales guy, and said, are you looking for the most quality system or are you looking for the cheapest price? The common thing would be, I'm looking for the most quality system. I'm not looking for the cheapest price, because people think of cheap as not good, right? So that's eliminating an objection at the end, to where if they say, hey, well, why aren't you going with the system today? And you can't say, well, I'm looking for a cheaper price, because you've already told them that I'm not looking for a cheaper price. And there's a long list of different items that are common that people say. Like another one would be the question you'd ask is there another person that needs to be involved in this decision? It's a really big decision. We want to make sure everybody is aware of the decision that's being made and also the design that we're coming up with. And if the person says, oh, no, I'm the decision maker, I'm the only one. So at the end, it's common for people to say, well, I need to talk to my wife or my spouse or my husband. And that's for a salesperson to be able to, they just eliminated that excuse because you just told them that you will be the one making that decision. So those are two. I mean, those are two pretty big ones actually that are common things for people to be able to get out of being stuck in a conversation. But they don't have being able to overcome the Exposeco objection of I can't be making this decision because I have Exposeco looking at my quotes and they will help me make this decision. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, I count three of those tactics. Like you mentioned, three there because people probably don't realize the moment a salesperson walks in the door and as soon as they start talking about something unrelated to the reason why they're there, they are already starting to sell to you. Like they walk through the door, they see, a sign on your wall for your favorite sports team and they start, "Oh, you're a Padres fan. Oh, you're a Packers fan." Whatever that is, that is actually a part of their spiel. They're beginning to warm you up. "Oh, you watch football, I watch football." Not just warm you up, but they're creating rapport with you. And like, as you have to realize that that is actually part of the sales pitch because they're getting comfortable. That's the surprise to me, I think, because I think that that's friendliness. Like that's what I like from people, is to be really warm and friendly. And I like to be around people who are interested in the things I'm interested in. But isn't it ironic when salespeople come through our door, they're suddenly interested in the exact thing that I'm interested in, whether it's fishing, whether it's sports, or if it's a kids, stuff like that. It's already beginning. So that's tactic number one that I think people should be aware of. The moment a salesperson walks in, there's already an agenda, and the agenda is being achieved the moment they shake your hand, look upon your walls, notice your clothing. They begin to mirror your demeanor, your style, your pace of talking. All of those things are all meant to make somebody feel comfortable. And that's something that people are just aloof to because they don't realize how fine-tuned the salesman can be. And then the second thing you said was they'll already begin to eliminate your objections without you even knowing it. They set you up in the beginning. That's so fascinating. It seems like a hard thing to do. I would imagine like there's quite a bit of education that goes into that sales process. Prepare a salesman to be able to say, let's eliminate the potential objections, like the cost objection, like the spousal objection. I mean, I just think that's fascinating. I think everybody needs to know that there is a lot at stake to veering off topic with a salesman, because they're not just having a great conversation, they're remembering what you're saying because they're going to use it later so that you feel trapped in your own words.
Yeah, it's crazy because it may take a lot of training up front to get all those handling those objections up front. But the fact is these guys are doing this every single day for their job. So when they're doing it for their job every single day, they're living and breathing conversations with people, and they have this thing memorized like the back of their hand. So when they roll up to your house, they already have an agenda of exactly how they're going to steer this conversation. They get to be really good at it. Believe me, I know. And they literally, from the way they stand at your doorstep, that's all trained. Where they park, that's training. They know exactly where to park. They know how far to stand away from your door. You don't ever stand on the platform. You stand a couple steps down. I always stand with 1 foot below one step and 1 foot above the other one. Just it's a really, you want to be in a non-confrontational demeanor. So you want to be as soft as possible when they open up that door. So it's crazy how much thought goes into every single step of the whole process. And people don't realize that. People think that it's just a contractor coming to your house. And there are just contractors that come to your house, and they may have zero sales training like that. But if you're having large companies come and give you quotes on replacing your air conditioning heating system or any other home service, likely those salespeople are well trained, because those organizations don't produce what they do without having some type of structured sales training. And that's kind of what you're going to experience, is you're going to have the most talent coming out of those organizations. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it.
And this is, like you said, there's a definite need for people to have a locked up excuse, a reason to say no. And sure, people can have that backbone. And I think a lot of people do have that backbone and say, I'm not going to make a decision today, but you still want to have somebody else to look over your thing, even if you are that person. But if you're not really that person, you kind of know yourself, you're not really that great at telling people no, you feel bad, a little bit guilty at disappointing people. Because that's a salesperson, a good salesperson, I think would make you feel a little bit guilty, like you wasted their time. I'm not sure. I'm not a salesman myself, but I could see it being used. If that's the case, then you definitely want to be able to say, hey, I've got a company, I've hired a team of people to help me discern this process of buying this heating and air conditioner. Like, I want to make sure I'm making a good decision, and I trust you, but I also want to have another set of eyes on this. So what we have is I've hired them to look over my proposal. So just can you give me my proposal and we'll get back to you. Like, that
Yeah,
is lightning.
totally. And I think it's trust but verify, right? So trust but verify. And if the salesperson has nothing to hide, he's going to be totally okay with that. It's just going to confirm what he sold you, what he's told you. He should have no qualms about it because he should be confident in what he's actually giving you and that it fits with what you actually need. And he's going to, be able to explain that out and make sure that that's accurate. And he's not overselling you on anything. If he doesn't want to give you the proposals because he's got a lot to hide.
All right, so let's go run down the scenario that, okay, we hired Exposeco, we got the contractors there, the clients there, and they're going over everything, and then the contractor pulls I understand that you hired this company, but here's the issue. I can offer you 15% off of this right now, and in fact, I have one of these units in my warehouse, and it's got a little ding on the side. It's not going to affect performance, but I can't sell it to you as brand new, so I have to discount it. But you got to buy it now. This is the thing. You got to buy it now. What about that sales tactic? What do you do?
I mean, that's an extremely common sales tactic in the industry as well. The industry is filled with open slots that they're trying to fill up with people to be able to keep their guys working. So they'll throw out discounts all the time to make that happen. But the reality of it is, if they're willing to do it now, they're willing to do it later. And the only time that they're not going to be willing to do it is probably during their busy season, which is going to be either summertime or wintertime, depending on where they're at. There is some obviously places that people run their heating and air all year long. But if people are throwing out big discounts to get you to sign up, a lot of times that discount will stay valid even if you have somebody else look over your stuff.
So what's the truth of that, though? Is there really a unit that's nicked up in a warehouse? Is it really true that, like, this is only available for if I sign this paper in the next 25 minutes or whatever?
No, that's a kind of a dirty sales tactic that I think is used quite often. There's people that will use any trick in the book to be able to get you to sign on that dotted line. And urgency, they got to find ways to create urgency and being able to throw out. I mean, of course, somebody could have a scratch and dent unit for sure. That's definitely a thing, but it's a very, very rare thing. And the chances of it showing up at your doorstep is pretty dang rare. I'd be super skeptical on the person that's offering that. And the sign now, if they're doing price increases usually happen at the beginning of the year. So if you're getting price increases, I mean, COVID was definitely an anomaly. There was a couple price increases that happened throughout the middle of the year and different quarters and such. But that was pretty rare. Normally, you're seeing only a price increase once a year. So people throw that out there too. Rebates are ending. If people are offering rebates, they are either paying for those rebates or they're just doing internal discounts in their company to make them look like rebates. And that's a common tactic as well, is like labeling a discount or rebate. You can read through that one by asking them who's actually providing the rebate and how is it being done. And if it's the manufacturer that's giving the rebate, that person or that contractor is actually paying for that rebate through that manufacturer. So it's all a big scheme. It's just like 0% financing. If somebody's giving you 0% financing through a bank, well, they're paying for that percentage rate because the bank doesn't loan money for free. There's no banks that do that. And if they are doing that, they're getting paid somehow. And it's usually through the back end of the loan, through the service provider or the equipment manufacturer, but it's like most often the service provider that's paying for it.
Yeah, that is so, oh my gosh, you're blowing my mind here with this. You are blowing my mind. This kind of goes back to a part of our earlier conversation with the scratch and dent. You already know this, and I don't know if our listeners know this, that when somebody offers a scratch and dent, like let's say an air conditioning unit, the reality is even if they do have a scratch and dent one in their warehouse or whatever, the likelihood of that scratch and dent one being an actual match for what that person needs is like, it increases the odds where it's super unlikely. So here's the reality is you would probably never want to buy a scratch and dent one because what you need for your house or for your apartment or for your condo, whatever it is going to be a unique fit. There's not like, one size fits all AC units. You need a specific size. You need specific things about it. So yeah, that just dawned on me about how sleazy that is. As soon as you hear, yeah, well, we've got a scratch and dent one of these, my ears would perk up because I would feel a little like I trust less that because the likelihood of that matching is just so much smaller.
There's also, a tactic that we haven't touched on, and I think is really important. It's called the close from authority. So what that is basically the salesperson goes, you know what? I know that we're trying to fill up the schedule. So what I'm going to do, and I don't do this very often, and the way they do it is be really smart about it, is they'll eliminate your objection before they make the phone call. They'll say, my boss is super busy. I don't want to call him unless you're really serious about getting this done. Like, is that even an option? Because I'm not going to call them if you're not interested. But a lot of times I can get them to definitely get a good deal. But I just don't want to call them if you're not really interested in taking advantage of that.
Wow.
And getting a verbal commitment from them, say, oh, yeah, no, call them. At that
Hyper
point,
pressure. Oh my gosh.
so that's definitely a common sales tactic. And you're basically getting the person to say, oh, yeah, call them. And at that point, the salesperson knows that that's a deal. That's like a 95% chance that you're going to close that deal and then make the phone call. And then they're calling another sales guy who is trained to be able to take these phone calls. And that basically is going to play a script and say, oh, Susie, you called at the right time. I really need to keep these guys working tomorrow. I've got one more slot to fill. One more. If you're willing to take that slot, I can knock $500 off today. How does that sound? Oh, geez, that would be amazing. Then closes the deal. Or, yeah, it wasn't as much of a discount. Oh, okay. Well, what were you thinking was a discount that would make it so you'd make that move to fill my schedule? It would really help me out. And I know my guys need the work. There's
Oh,
so many
wow.
different, they can go pretty far with it. But that's a common sales tactic, and it's called the close from authority. They use it on services as well. So like you'll get a tune-up guy that will come in and tune up your system and say something's wrong with it, and they'll turn it over to a sales guy. And that sales guy will actually close them on selling a new system. So there's a lot of like scary things out there that people have no idea that are happening to them. And they go from doing $49 tune-up that they see at Home Depot to buying a $20,000 heating and air conditioning system in that same day. That's a common thing in the industry. So if you are not aware of it, you can definitely be taken into that situation real quick by hiring the wrong guy.
Yeah. And what we're trying to do is just slow people down. Just slow down. We don't, as Exposeco, we don't expect you to understand or even be prepared for all of these tactics. What we're trying to say is just slow down. Let us help you. Let us help you make good decisions and not feel pressured by some salesman who calls the boss and it's actually the other salesman across the line who's feeding you. Oh man, that gives me like the heebie-jeebies, and I'm feeling for Susie right now. I'm like sweating for her just even thinking about it.
You said it exactly right. Slow down. And us as Americans, we're always moving. Everybody's always got something going on. They're always busy. They want convenience. They want to just get it done and be done with it. That's the majority. I would say there's obviously there's some people that are very analytical, the engineers and those type of people. But The sales guys, they feed off that. They love that. They want that mentality. They want to keep pushing the ball down the road and get that deal closed and get that system installed. And yeah, I think the biggest slogan that we can ever come up with is slow down. Slow
Mm-hmm.
down. We've
Mm-hmm.
got you. We've got your back. Let us look it over. Let us help you to make sure that you're not getting into something and you're just not making a big mistake.
Exactly. Cool. Geez, my mind is in a bunch of pieces in my brain. I'm going to just say that this has been so helpful for me, and I hope it's helpful for our listeners. Get to know your salesmen and get to know their sales tactics. And hopefully this has been helpful. Just know that Exposeco, we got you. If you don't want to mess with that, just hire us. Let us look over things. Let us slow you down. Let us do our job and support you and to be firmly in your corner. Paul, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for taking the time with us tonight.
It was fun. Love it.
Awesome, buddy. All right. Appreciate it. Look out for our next episode here. All right. Have a good night, everyone.